In this video, I'm going to be placing around 100,000 blocks just to build one project. Because I actually don't know how many blocks this took, but I know it took a lot. So it was probably about 100,000, I'd say. Anyway, I should probably start talking about how this project even came to be. In this episode, we're going to be expanding the ruins. If you don't know what the ruins is, it's a project I previously built in the world over 1,000 days ago now. I started building it on day 440 and finished around 660, taking about 200 days in total. That was episode 6, and see, the whole thing about the ruins is that it was a recreation of the base I had in my first ever flat world. And I loved that world, but I lost it because it just corrupted, which really sucks. That's why I make backups now. But you know, I love this world more anyway, so it's not a big loss, but I still missed that world. So I decided to memorialize it. So I turned it into the ruins. And today it stands as one of my favorite builds on the flat world. And I figured, I should expand the ruins at some point. Incorporate other bases from other old worlds, not just flat worlds. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be expanding the ruins. There is kind of a reason why I was saving this for now. It requires a lot of blocks. Mud in particular, actually. In episode 660, I needed so much mud. But thing is, for some reason, finding a good mud farm was so difficult. It made no sense. Why is it so hard? Seriously, why was it so hard? So I knew that if I wanted to do something else in the ruins in the future, I would need a new mud farm. And so that's where we're going to get started first. More mud. I cannot for the life of you tell me why it was so hard to find a good mud farm, because, okay, see. For most farms, it's pretty easy to find a tutorial. Usually you just go on one of the good redstone channels, and you find one. Pretty easy. Well, not for mud farms apparently, because the only ones I found either did not come with a tutorial, or were so shit, it's actually laughable how, although in the video, as you can see, I did find one, it was actually not even a real mud farm. It was meant to be a clay farm. I had to modify the world download, so that way, instead of making clay, it would make mud. It worked, but it should not have been this hard. I decided to start on making an exterior for the farm. After all, I give all my farms exteriors. However, this is actually all I did for the exterior for a very long time. Actually, even as of now, it's still not fully done. Now, I'm going to show you some plans from a while ago now, I guess. In January 2024, I decided to scrap my old plans for a flat world and make a new one. As you can see, there's this big river here which goes across thousands upon thousands of blocks. I've decided that the best way to really clear out that river would be to use TNT. However, I ran out of gunpowder. So that made a major problem. So I wasn't able to blow up the entire river, and actually, even as of the end of episode 13, this river is not done, and it probably won't be for a while more. However, I should probably make something clear. I do need more gunpowder, but at this point, the mob farm had actually not been operational for a while, as I put torches inside to disable it. The reason I disabled it was because I hated the exterior of this thing. When I first built it, I used a lot of jungle wood, and I don't know why. It looks horrible. It does not look good mixed with deep sea either. It was just a really bad design choice. So I decided that I should rebuild it. I figured the best way to get rid of it would be fire, and the game decided it would be funny if it started raining. I'll be honest, I was procrastinating a little bit. I mean, why wouldn't I be? I'm gonna be real, why wouldn't I be? This was a huge project in general that I had in mind for this video. And you know what? If I get to procrastinate a bit, then cool. No, I like procrastinating. Who doesn't? Alright, at this point, I've just been doing other stuff other than the main project for about 60 days. And considering how I wanted this video to be done by day 2000, I decided, you know what, enough slacking, it's time to get to work. So, I got to work. The first thing I would need to do was outline the big river, as you can see here. So, that's what I did first. To get started with the actual build, I first decided to just outline the river that would be going around the island. I tried to roughly follow the image I just showed you, though it's not perfect, and I'm going to have to actually realign a few things later. Digging this all out took the longest. In fact, technically it's actually not fully dug out by the end of this video, but at that point I couldn't be bothered with it anymore. I should probably address this now. In the previous episode, around day 1600, the string farm that had been keeping my economy alive for over maybe like 1400 days at that point had finally broken. And that was devastating because not only was I completely reliant on that farm for XP, I was also reliant on it for money. Now, at this point, I had no way to get either of those, efficiently at least. It was at this point where I knew that I would need to be digging a lot of blocks. What I used to dig out a lot of blocks, dirt in particular, a shovel. How many shovels do I have? 1. So, what do? Well, I make a new farm to replace the old string farm, which is actually still empty today. For now, I still don't really have a good way to get emeralds, but on the bright side, I do have a way to get XP now. And I went with a very simple solution that I probably should have done ages ago. Like, as soon as I got end access, I should have done it, but I didn't. So, shame on me. But whatever. I made an Enderman farm. Now, at this point, I wanted to make the two halves of the build feel connected, so I decided to place down a good amount of mud between the two. Now, farming on the mud did take a while. Like, a while. I think I spent maybe even up to maybe like 50 days total AFKing. I'm still gonna need more mud later, actually. Because this is really just not that entertaining to look at, this will be the last time I show you any mud farming. Do know that I farm a lot of mud, and I'm gonna need way more later. Now, filling in all the land here, I figured it would be... Now, filling in all the land here, now, I wanted to do it all with mud, but eventually I came to the conclusion that I would not have nearly enough time to get that much mud before day 2000, so I said fuck it and decided to go back to using normal dirt. Now, where was I going to get all this dirt? Well, simple. The area I was literally building around. That's why you see a big crater there. I used TNT to get a lot of dirt. I also didn't want any of that remaining grass to spread over to the top where I was actually going to be placing, normal dirt. Which is also why later I flooded it. Anyway, at this point, it was just a matter of getting all the dirt I needed and placing it back down. At this point, all the dirt there was now flooded, so if I wanted more dirt, I would have to get it from the nearby river, which was being dug out. Okay, real quick. I just wanted to talk to you real quick, because I want to rant a little bit, because, okay, see, in all the previous flatworld episodes where, you got these nice, fancy, shots of the world, I used to get them with replay mod. However, for this episode, I decided to switch to flashback. And the reason why I switched over to flashback was because I had heard from a lot of people that it was apparently so much better than replay mod. You should use flashback. So I figured, alright, sure. I'll use flashback for this episode instead of replay mod. When I'm using it, it's like, okay, alright, I can work with this. And what do you know? In the longer recordings, the mod becomes basically unusable. Just from all the goddamn lag. I'll be honest, it's annoying. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like flashback that much right now, but it is an alpha build, I think, right now. So I guess that kind of explains it. I should probably tell you what exactly it is we are building, because I have not been entirely upfront about this whole project, I'll be honest. So, let's talk about it. The Ruins is where I recreate old bases from old worlds, memorialize them as, ruins. It was a cool idea when I first came up with it, and it's still cool now. So, what bases have I actually recreated? Well, before this episode, just one. Back in episode 6, I recreated the base I had in my first ever flat world. And now we're back, and this world, it's a little bit more interesting. This world is from when 1.17 first came out, and I wanted to play it. So I made a new world, and I wanted it to be a new long-term world. However, it did not even last before I just straight up stopped playing on it. However, I had a lot of cool ideas in mind for the base. Some of which being big walls that go really up high, a lot of water around, a boat where I would actually be living, and not on the island itself for some reason. Oh, I guess down south is where I would put farms or whatever. And also, a giant-ass creeper statue, which was actually also a hidden mob farm. Here's what I wanted to do this base next, was because this would actually significantly help out in landscaping. Because, as you can see here, I need to do a lot of it. And getting this built now will help me lay out the river project, because the river project, it's big. And getting this done now will help me get the final shape of the river in place. Of course, there will be more bases added onto the ruins in the future. I have a few more in mind. However, today we're just doing this one. And even then, I'm still going to be taking some creative liberties with it, because admittedly, this whole base was a bit unfinished. Instead of building a derpy-ass creeper statue, like I showed you in that demonstration earlier, I decided to instead put it in the ground as a sort of hidden monument. If you're wondering why it looks traumatized, that's because in the original world, where this space was originally made, it was. Since information on the old world is really hard to find, I decided that I would allow myself to have some creative liberties with whatever goes on this island. Unfortunately, I eventually realized that I would just not have enough time to do anything much more significant here. So I spent the last few days before day 2000 just kind of cleaning things up, just doing a few touch-ups here and there, and making a post office. Because why not? Alright. It's time. We've made it. Day 2000. Well then, everyone, thank you all for watching this video. Now, we have hit day 2000, so you may be thinking, Voltan, what are you doing? Your build that you spent hundreds of days working on is still actually not really done. Why are you ending the episode now? That's because, that was just the main project I had in mind for the episode. As time went on, I eventually realized some project I had in my first episode would have taken way longer to finish than just 200 days. Even then, the main goal of this episode was not to finish another project. It was to reach day 2000, which we have done. So, everyone, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll be seeing you all next time. Goodbye.